These are of a series of lesson plans that we've developed called How Success Works. There are 5 case studies that are best suited to be used in this lesson, and all 5 of these are on CAMEL. Before I go over some background with you, Gerry's actually going to go through one of our success stories in more detail. And so we recommend that you start each success story with a video. We're actually going to show the 7-minute video. It's more like 6.5 minutes, I think. So if any of you have issues watching the video, we're going to provide a few alternatives during the video, which I'll get into when it comes up. Success Works lessons can be adapted to teach students of any age, from early elementary school up through university level and beyond. And if you're not an educator, there's still a lot you can take away from this presentation. Basically, the lessons that we teach and how success works. So from an agency or something else, then you may actually pick up some tools here for solving local problems. Hopefully. Nearly all of our success stories are indirectly related to climate change, but some are explicitly about climate change mitigation. There is one story, one video that explicitly discusses the links between loss of carbon sequestration and deforestation, and as I said, are indirectly related to climate change and can be related depending on what you want to. So I should bring that up since we're on CAMEL. Before I begin, I want to go over just a little bit of project background about the EcoTipping Points project, in case you've never heard of us, which most of you probably haven't. We're a small nonprofit based in Hawaii. We were founded in 2004 by Gerry and Marten and a journalist named Steve Brooks, and they would convey principles of sustainable human-environment interaction and show transform environmental decline to sustainability. A journalist named Amanda Sutari gathered together about 100 environmental success stories from around the world. And then system analysis of these stories revealed that they all had a tipping point, which we'll define shortly. And they also all shared 10 or 11 ingredients for success, which we'll also define shortly. So with this, they developed an approach to solving eco-social problems. Eco-social problems, for technical share my slideshow.
About an arrow or no?
Let's see, back to the slideshow. Problem solved.
Use an arrow.
Yes, it works just fine. Okay, sorry about that. The problem with environmental problems, oftentimes they're very overwhelming, really complex. Scale damage often seems irreversible. The people that seem responsible often seem untouchable, like the government or big corporations. Oftentimes they're very depressing. Sometimes it's easier to just not think about it. And it seems like you can't really make a difference. And usually attempts to solve the problem are met with a lot of resistance, or actually only attempt to really get at symptoms rather than causes of the problem, which brings us swimming against the current. So our approach to solving environmental problems, first we ask, what does it take to turn around decline of environmental support systems? Another way to phrase that, what does it take to transform decline into restoration and sustainability and achieve a sustainable balance between ecosystems and social systems? So we answer that using both real-world success stories, so these are true stories, and systems thinking. System is useful because it looks at both the forest and the trees, makes sense of complicated situations. It also emphasizes connections, life change. So it's looking at relationships between components in situations. So we are primarily concerned is the eco-social system. This is the ecosystem and the social system, which are interrelated and interdependent. The system is self-organizing, complex, and adaptive. By organizing, I mean that it's a dynamic system system will spontaneously arrange or modify its components and reaches a state of equilibrium. Patterns and organization develop this way. It's complex because there are many parts and many connections between the parts, and adaptive because the system reacts to changes within the system by making adjustments based on feedback. By feedback, I'm talking about self-enforcing patterns of behavior. Really take the form of energy, material, and or information. So this is true for nearly all dynamic systems, from cells to organisms to ecosystems to galaxies. So now that we've defined our system, what do we mean by systems thinking? Well, let's contrast it with traditional modernist thinking. System is a more holistic approach to problem solving, whereas traditional thinking is more reductionist, breaking things down into individual parts of the system. In thinking, we're looking at the relationship between the parts. And the process we're using is looking at self-reinforcing patterns, or feedback loops, and we're going to get into those a lot today, rather than looking at strictly linear cause and effect relationships. So we're looking for solutions to terminal problems. With traditional thinking, you usually tend to alleviate symptoms, whereas systems thinking, we're looking for levers that transform feedback cycles. And levers are what we mean by eco-tipping points. And we'll get into that a bit more too. So basically with systems thinking, we're looking at underlying patterns and tendencies within a system, rather than breaking it down into individual parts. And this allows us to work within self-organizing adaptive systems to tweak things that will allow the system to take over on its own. So what is a tipping point? Tipping point can be defined a few different ways. One way is as a threshold of dramatic change, or a lever that sets dramatic change in motion. So it means a small shift in one that produces big changes in the system structure. And that's the way that we are defining this. The old cartoon of Archimedes here, he said, give me to stand, and with a long enough lever, I can move the world. So it's a small change that has really big returns. So tipping point is a lever that's set in motion, turnabout from decline to restoration and sustainability. So really, it's a single catalytic change that provides a strategic jump start. Cities, neighborhoods, and country nations are intimately involved in their environmental support systems. Really, these end up solving both environmental and social problems, not intentionally. Tipping point combines the right environmental technology, and we use that in the broadest sense of the word, with the social organization to put that technology into practice. Is key. Most of our stories deal with entire communities getting together and making a change. So it's mostly bottom-up, grassroots style reform, but it involves a lot of organization at that level. Success stories are generally two plays. First act involves what we call the negative tip or downward spiral. In this situation, will go from being sustainable to being unsustainable. Next, we have two, which is what we call the positive tip or the upward spiral, where the situation goes from being unsustainable to being sustainable. So the catalyst that switches between two acts, the eco-tipping point, and sets in motion a cascade of effects throughout the system, right? Because it's a lever. It's going to be one catalytic action sets in motion a whole bunch of other effects. This is environmental decline, and then as we're working within the system and at a level of self-organization and adaptability, walks in the gains, and sometimes success is completed throughout the system or among systems. So we're right into our 7-minute video here, and this will out of our case stories in more detail. And then when the video's over, Gerry here is going to go through some of the lesson materials that go along with this video. So go ahead and click on this link at the bottom here. This goes to our website where the video is. Engage with the video here. And I don't know if everyone's going to be able to watch the video because of your bandwidth or internet connection. So I give you a couple options here. First of all, if for some reason watching it through WebEx is the problem, you can go and watch it on your own. On our website is fine. Our website is ecotippingpoints.org, and you can go ahead and click on this photo video tab here, which I'll just click on for you. And the video we're watching is the very first one. So if watching it on your own here is helpful, that's good. If the video itself is the problem, then you have the option, you can read the video script, it's short, and you can click on that here, or you can click on this bottom bullet here of this bulleted list. I'm going to open that in a different tab for you. So I do that bottom bullet, and then down here in the lesson contents, you can see where 2 and 3 are narrative handouts, the short version and an extended version. And these links just take you lower on this page. If you are having trouble with the video, then I encourage you to go ahead and read along while we are watching it for about 6 minutes. And I show the video on YouTube rather than on our website because it allows me to go full screen, which I think is nicer. And let me just turn off my webcam real quick because you don't need to see me. I have to. Okay.
Sound. One of the thousands of islands. What sound? It is called Apo Island. The Phil's coral reef fishery is one of the world's most important fisheries. A few decades ago, it was yielding a catch of 1 million tons per year, but it has been in serious trouble for quite some time. Fish stocks have dwindled to less than 5% of what were before. Villages in some areas are dying. One village, Apo Island, nearly experienced the same fate. However, fishermen found a way to save their fishery and their cherished way of life. It began about 50 years ago with the introduction of destructive fishing methods such as the use of dynamite and cyanide. These methods were very effective for catching fish, but not sustainable as they seriously damaged the coral habitat. They descended into a slow but unending vicious cycle, from habitat destruction and overfishing to dwindling fish stocks, which in turn forced fishermen to intensify their use of destructive fishing methods to catch anything at all. Our fishermen, like so many others, had to travel farther from their village, longer hours searching for places that still had enough fish, use harmful fishing methods to catch as many fish as they could, and ignore the future health of the fishery. Sometimes a fisherman would catch only 1 or 2 small fish in a day, or perhaps none at all. The Philippine government reacted with laws banning destructive fishing, but the laws were not enforceable and therefore did little to solve the problem. It seemed impossible to escape this downward spiral, but in 1980, Dr. Angel Alcala, a scientist at nearby Suleiman University, in 2-year dialogue with Apo Island fishermen. That's what was happening to their islands. In particular, the reef ecosystem surrounded the island to a distance of 500 meters from the shore. Alcala took some of the fishermen to an uninhabited island where he had protected several hundred meters of coral reef from fishing for several years. Although fishing zones were a new idea for the Philippines, fishermen were impressed with their fish in the protected area, and that fish from there were helping to replenish fish stocks around the rest of the island. This example convinced the fishermen to try it for themselves. In 1882, Islanders set classified 10% of the island's fishing grounds as a no-fishing marine sanctuary. Enforcement was easy. It took one person on the beach to watch the sanctuary, a task that rotated among families who lived on the island. With the years, their patience had paid off. The sanctuary was overflowing with fish. Fishing near the edge of the sanctuary was far better than before. Most importantly, islanders were so inspired by their sanctuary that they decided to do something about the rest of the island fishing grounds. The island community decided to continue the rule of no fishing in the sanctuary and enacted two new rules for the fishing grounds around the island outside the sanctuary. One, fishing was limited to only Apple Island residents, and two, no destructive fishing methods were allowed. Those rules were necessary for obstacles. The exclusion of other island fishermen was not easily accepted by the Philippine government. So after serious negotiations, islanders allowed to move ahead with these bold actions. Turned to traditional fishing methods such as hook and line, traps, and mesh gill nets. And for enforcement, fishermen created a marine guard consisting of local volunteers. The fishery improved rapidly, though it took 10 years for stocks of largest fish to recover fully. Applefish can now do their fishing right at home, around the island. It's a short day's work to catch all the fish they need. The restoration of Apple Island's coral ecosystem set in motion a cascade of spin-offs reinforcing such fishing. With these in fish populations, tourism activities such as snorkeling and diving brought in additional income and strengthened the incentive to maintain a healthy marine ecosystem. The primary school had a marine ecology curriculum, and the islanders used part of the tourist income to create scholarships for many of their children to attend high school and college on the adjacent mainland. Some Apple students are now in graduate school studying marine ecosystem management. Islanders also started a very successful family planning program to ensure that their future population does not exceed what the fishing ground can provide. They are already committed to small families when they grow up. Visitors from other fishing villages have come to Apple to learn from the success there. Now, 100 villages in the Philippines have marine sanctuaries. Work together, Apple Islanders pulled back their ravaged ecosystem from a precipice of unsustainability to a path of sustainability. They reversed the vicious cycle and reinforced by newly created virtuous cycles, driven by continuously growing awareness, experience, pride, and commitment. The islanders care deeply about the future of the fishery because it is theirs. They now have the knowledge and tools to reap its bounty with confidence. Consider their sanctuary to be sacred. They save the marine ecosystem, their fishery, and their way of life. But in fact, the sanctuary was only the lever that got it started. It was a tipping point.
Head over to Gerry here.
Hi, everybody. Wild. The negative tipping point that the climate motion was of destructive fishing methods. Positive tipping point or EcoTipping point. And we these two parts in all of our success stories. First of all, the technology in the broadest sense of the word, which includes the marine sanctuary, and organization to put that technology into use, which was their marine art. This motion, a cascade of changes that the vicious cycles try to decline to virtuous cycles and additional virtuous cycles and spin-offs along the lines of success, for example, reinforce the restoration and sustainability. I'll show you what I mean. Can you get rid of the prompts there? Okay.
Yeah, technical problem. I don't know why it's doing that, but if we just go back into the show, it seems to.
Okay. When fishing nets were introduced, only a few people were using them, and just time. But they continued to be used. Of the coral reef habitat and fewer fish, and because of destructive methods got like dynamite and so on, then additional methods, as the fishing became worse, the fishermen were compelled to use the destructive fishing methods even more to catch the fish they needed. And I'm not sure where did I push it off to. Cycle, a vicious cycle of more destructive fishing methods, fish that can to spread spatially over the region, can make things worse and worse over a period of several decades. At the same time, as fishing got worse, the fishermen were compelled to and got worse. Our own fishing village, the fishermen were compelled to go further and further away from the village, find places that were not yet damaged, and a hit-and-run approach. Use the destructive fishing methods to get as much as they could. They didn't really care about the future because it was far from home, and so the second vicious, then the use of destructive fishing methods and decline of the fishery. The two vicious cycles interconnected and reinforcing and driving the decline. With the tip, the creation of the marine sanctuary, use of destructive fishing methods, not at all at the beginning in the sanctuary itself, to more fish, and this reverse that vicious cycle that gradually over a period of years, even outside the sanctuary, around their island, and then in other places, they used the destructive fishing methods less and less because they didn't need them. And also, as the fishery around the island improved, they were able to fish more and more at home, and they really cared about the future and sustainable fishing. So here that the relationships became a cycle. The decline. The relationships are exactly the same. The difference is that the direction change is the. At the also then the improvement in the marine system and the number of fish led to tourism, to education. They acquired experience over the years, product success, and all reinforced the commitment and the skill with which they managed the marine ecosystem and created additional feedback. First, we're reinforcing the positive change. of an exercise sheet that we have with the How Success Works lesson where students get a diagram as you saw before. They fill in the direction of change of each thing, the use of the destructive fish methods, the number of fish, and so on, whether they're increasing or decreasing, and in arrows that they recall from story and discover for themselves the actions and how the connections were driving change. Now, the bad news from all of this is that it can be difficult to reverse those vicious cycles if they're very, very strong. So do less is simply against the current. The good news is that once those vicious cycles are reversed, the same feedback loops drive restoration. To over vicious cycles and reverse them. Students, after seeing one of our videos, can think about what was responsible for success. What were the ingredients for success that helped overcome those vicious cycles? And I'll show you a few examples just briefly of some ingredients for success that we've seen in all of the stories. And much more detail is offered in the lesson materials for How Success Works. Details about this. First of all, outside stimulation and facilitation. We can see a turnout from with system all by itself. The island story, the scientists talked to the people there to develop a shared view of the problem and what they could do about it. In addition, later, they had to negotiate their control of their fishing grounds and excluding other fishermen from other locations from their fishing grounds. They had to negotiate this with government and a low-profit organization helped them to. And finally, their family planning, a different nonprofit organization, helped them. The strong democratic local institutions and enduring commitment of local leadership. The council was very important, but in addition, really important decisions to make about their fisheries management. They assembled representatives from any families who wanted to participate at the playground of their elementary school to really push things out and to do it if it was necessary. And persistence was really important. It's never easy, even in the best success stories. Social system and ecosystem. Think of this as social commons for mental commons. And in this story, it was their organization for managing their fisheries. Not upon government to take care of it, but developing their own organization very explicitly fitted to manage fishery. And do the work it's beyond human means to micro ecosystem restoration. The self-organizing and restorative powers of nature can be really amazing if given a chance, and that's what this story demonstrated. When they gave the marine ecosystem a chance there, the recovery was really impressive, which is the next ingredient, which is rapid results. Results consolidate community commitment to necessary action and persisting in it. And the rapid results in this story, the recovery of the fish populations, were really critical. Powerful symbol The case surprised me before I studied these cases is a charismatic leader that really sort of embraces everything. In the island story, it was the marine sanctuary itself. They call it a no-fishing reserve or a marine protected area. They call it sanctuary. That's sacred. And no obstacles. In these complex times, there can be so many demands on all of us that it's difficult to contribute to community action. In everyone's case, they designed their actions so they made reasonable demands on people. For example, the marine sanctuary was one person sitting on the beach and even that person could even be doing something like making handcrafts at the time. Another common social obstacle is are threatened by the positive change and try to stop it. So had to deal with the government over taking over control of its management around the island. There was no precedent in the Philippines for the jurisdiction of the state, of the provincial and they were hands. They had to overcome that obstacle, and they did it. Another common obstacle, once the restoration is achieved, that come in and try to take it over. That has not been part of the Apple Island story so far, but it could happen in the future. Diversity here, simply a matter that more choices for social organization, opportunities for good choices. And this applies to ecological diversity, giving the ecosystem the capacity to rules in terms of its biological content for restoration. And that was very important in this story, that the ecosystem, local ecosystem, was not damaged to the point of extinction of key marine species and allow the recovery to be more rapid. So an ecological memory is part of city. And in the story, when they stopped using destructive methods, they went back to their traditional methods, which they knew worked, and they knew they were sustainable. And ecological memory, coevolution of the species there. Another social example. Well, after the restoration of their fishery, the recovery of their fishery, they went to a traditional they had forgotten when they were using destructive fishing methods of taking more from the sea than they really needed, and them in how they use the recovered fish. And finally, building resilience. The resilience, the capacity to sustain or do this, threaten the recovery, and a key, the adapting. And this adaptive capacity in the island story came from the tourism and how they used it, the education, which gave them a diverse professional capacity for dealing with a lot of different challenges, and including challenges in the future that probably none of us can imagine. Now, recognize eco-tipping points by insight. How can we create them by foresight? And the key is converting those vicious cycles to verticals. The student, a community group, can select an environmental problem of their own and diagram the vicious cycles that are driving the decline. And piece, thinking about how what could be done to turn around that piece, and turning around more pieces is better than turning around less. So I'm interventions, actions that probably have the most impact. And think for success that they have given the lessons, or some bars, whatever, of to make those interventions more effective. Turn it back over to Deidre,
Thank you.
who will mention a bit more about what's on CAMEL.
Quick rundown of how success works. They're really adaptable and variable, and there's a lot of material available. But overall, the overarching goal is to teach how eco-social system works, how do I doable actions to turn a situation from unsustainable to sustainable, utilize powerful eco-social forces to work for us instead of against us. So I like to tell people that this is a rare case of optimistic environmentalism. Typically, environmentalism is really depressing, but we have a lot of real-world, true stories that are really inspiring and prove that this stuff can work. Tipping points provide a starting point for solving complex problems. And what they do is set eco-social systems moving in a healthier direction. They need bullets that solve an environmental project problem overnight. And they're about utopian dreams. We're talking about small changes with big rewards. But by small changes, we don't mean something really easy. All these involve a lot of hard work and of community collaboration, which oftentimes is the hardest part. We have different How Success Works lesson plans on CAMEL, and I know you can't see those on the right there, but that just kind of gives a rundown of what they look like when you search for them on CAMEL. If you search EcoTipping Points, or you can search How Success Works. With these 5 case studies, the lesson is pretty much the same. It's the case study itself that varies between them. All of these include videos and narratives, PowerPoints, and then a lot of different student worksheets and teacher keys. Next stories all have a video. How Success Works lessons can be used with any success story. And if there are other stories from our website or any success story that you may have from your own community or know somewhere else, you can use the methodology. But we like to start the video, and I made 5 videos so far. They're all a lot like the Apple Island video that you just saw. So they're pretty much narrated slideshows. So they're pretty simple and easy to follow. And then it lists here the length of each. So Apple Island is the shortest one. There's a variety of places, a variety of situations. There's New York City's community gardens, and goes over a group of people in the 70s that created some urban gardens in vacant lots throughout the city, which was kind of a sum. And the gardens ended up not only transforming the lots, but transforming the neighborhood and gathering people together and having this cascade of effects. And then people replicated it all over the place. We've got a story from Thailand about reversing tropical deforestation. And this is the story that is most explicitly related to climate change. The video starts out talking about links between carbon sequestration and deforestation. This is a story in which deforestation, in order to increase agricultural output, caused a water shortage, which in turn caused economic problems and social problems, and then a nonprofit came in and taught them forestry methods and reversed the entire situation. They had a better economic system, and then that improved their society. The next 2 stories are from India. One is about a village in which the wells ran dry because of deforestation, and then they drilled too deep with the wells after they started running dry, and eventually they returned to their traditional system of rainwater collection, which gave them more time because they had been walking up to 10 miles to collect water, and then it improved their agriculture, which improved their economic system, which improved their society. And the story is one in which cotton farmers got in this vicious cycle of pesticide dependence and debt, and was having health problems, and they even had the highest suicide rate in India. A nonprofit came in and taught them non-pesticide management, which reversed all of those cycles, and they managed to go with the nature, improving their crop yields, improving their debt situation, and improving their social situation as well. So as you can see, they all follow the similar 2A format. They can be viewed in a variety of ways. They're all on CAMEL. They're on our website. Several of them are in Spanish, and you can also download the script too.
I just want to emphasize how dramatic these stories are. For example, in Rajasthan, when they sucked up the aquifer dry, and river, streams, wells, everything dried over near 5,000 square kilometers, their agriculture was shut down, village ruined, and they were able to completely turn it around and develop something. First, it was in a single village, and it's led now to 1,000 villages, the entire region, and brought the region back to life.
How success works, we have several other resources on CAMEL. I'm not going to go into these in detail with you, and I know that you probably can't read these. They're really small, but these are not all centered on these 5 success stories I've been talking about. There's a town hall meeting that brings up case studies. There's a Learning to Play by Nature's Rules, which is centered on an article about Hurricane Katrina. There's an environmental conference that looks at success stories from 6 different continents and incorporates the cultural geography of each of those areas. So I need you to take a look at our other lessons also if you're interested. For participating, and if you would like us to help you adapt these to your teaching needs, or if you want to try and create eco-tipping points for your own situation, please feel free to contact us. There's an email address listed here. Also, have a look at our website in both English and Spanish, or if you want to learn more about the principles behind eco-tipping points, Gerry here wrote a wonderful book called Human Ecology. It's a great textbook for high school or university level for anyone, and the entire book is online for free in both English and Spanish at gerrymarten.com. I think we'll. Oh, one point,
the book's also in press.
Yeah.
The book's still in press and can be purchased. We'll keep it in print. Yeah.
So we'll open it up for questions here. Any questions? If anyone wants, we could tour our website for a few minutes also.
So, as far as you can tell, do we have any questions? Okay. Seeing any questions on our list? Jenny, can you ask?
Have no questions.
What are ways to work in arenas where there are not quick results? Question now. The question is, what are ways to work in arenas where there are not quick results? I guess my response is that situation I can think of have some quick results on some small scale, and this is very important. If this answer doesn't get at what you're after, put again, and we'll try to address it better. Let's see. Recommendations for using these ideas in an informed education setting like a zoo or aquarium where visitor interaction is on a short time span. When it comes to that setting, first off, if it's an aquarium, and if you want to have a display there, we can have the Apple Island video. And for news, I also provide that video or our video about Thailand. There was decimated, and in the restoration, the wildlife came back. So we can provide some of our materials to zoos and to use in displays or in other ways. Just please contact us to know your interest, and we can work out details. And
Same question. One more question.
Well, let's do one more minute to see. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's take a bit more of a look at the website, and if you have more questions along the way, you can put them in, and we can address them.
Great. Take over to our website for a brief tour. I don't know if you would like to lead the tour. Okay. So this is our home page here. You'll see there's a brief intro, and then we have a 3-minute introductory video, which if you have time, it's worth watching. We also have a link to our Spanish website, Spanish, and a link to donate to the project. What you need is on this right-hand here. Information about EcoTipping Points themselves. Also, the stories are grouped by region and topic. If you're interested in something in particular for your students, I'm sure we have something that will help. Links to all of the videos, which I outlined for you, and then to the materials for the same 5 videos, to Gerry's book, Human Ecology, online version. From here to our success stories, you can either click down here, browse over 100 success stories, or top menu bar, our stories. Also on the page, if you scroll down, here's more links to the videos, and links to all of our lesson plans are here, this teacher with the apple, as well as links to some publications.
Can you go on again? I particularly recommend if you go to the World Watch, get the World Watch article and put the cursor on it. Yeah. I recommend our article in World Watch magazine for an overview. It uses 3 of the stories. Apple Island is one of them, and it uses 2 ways to present the ideas, the principles for EcoTipping Points.
Just our story page real quick, and then we did get one more question we'll address here. So we have 100 success stories. We have these longer stories, which are up here at the top, and if you just click on the image, you can get links to reading about those stories. And have story titles, so these are a bit longer. As you can see, there are about 30 of those, and then we have shorter pieces that we call capsule stories, and are listed by their location. And there are a lot of those. As you can see, that there's going to be a story to meet your needs if you have something in mind. Go ahead, address this question.
I can answer. Have you any examples where an eco-tipping point has been observed or related? Government has made policy changes by listening to electorate. Well, I think yes and no, and I'll explain that. Well, first of all, we very few instances in our success stories of government being the initiator. In China, all the success stories are top-down, and some are very effective. But it always starts on a very, very small scale, usually an experimental scale, a person, a village, or a neighborhood in New York City, and spans to a larger scale after the success has been demonstrated. It's there that is almost always an impact on government policy. Once somebody has taken initiative to demonstrate on a very local scale that something, then government becomes interested. For example, our non-pesticide management in Andhra Pradesh, India. Then this story, incidentally, is the video. I think is very interesting because it shows their toolkit, the ecological methods they use instead of pesticides. Shows them very concretely, and something that people anywhere in the world can use. But in this instance, the companies tried to get the whole business killed, and they went to government and went to state government and tried to do that. And the government in this case did the opposite. They liked it, and they supported the dissemination of this throughout the state, and now there are about 5,000 villages there. They feedbacked it into an existing women's self-help that already was there. And so this kind of impact on government we can see in really all of our stories, just about, particularly the flagship stories with the videos. In the Apple Island, government facilitated, after Apple Island was successful, the government facilitated the spread of marine sanctuaries. And the same sort of thing has happened with others. The Rajasthan, the use of traditional rainwater dams in Rajasthan, now this is spreading all across India with government support.
Last question here, and I think we'll probably wrap it up after that.
Let's see. Where is it?
This one?
We're currently conducting a case study on a community experiencing a boom in natural gas production. Teaching this case study from a sustainable development point of view and looking at these boom and bust patterns associated with fossil fuel extraction. But I talked about changing these vicious cycles, and I was inspired by some of these diagrams you showed, and it got me thinking about how to use some of your technology in my case. Do you have any recommendations in applying your methodology in my case? I think it would be necessary to sit down and diagram what the changes. If you want to contact us, you're very welcome to do that, and we'd be happy to work with you on that. This is the same procedure that anybody can use, but again, I repeat that for anybody who wants to start doing this, we are happy to work with you to help you get things off the ground.
Great. The rest are just comments, not questions. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, everyone, for participating, and please contact information. And so if anyone would like to get in touch with us, you are encouraged to do so.
Let me make one last comment about the diagrams, and that is that the website is loaded with diagrams. So explore various cases, particularly the ones we call in-depth stories, And also, if you go to the page which is about ecosystem, about eco-tipping points, about TPs, which has the principles, you can find diagrams for many of our stories, which concretely how done.
Thanks, class.
And thank you.
Find a way to. All right. Not sure.